Smith's question then, which he has asked, do you differentiate between technique for hypertrophy for strength versus bodybuilding, or powerlifting versus bodybuilding, I guess?
Steve, can you rephrase that? So is the question being asked, is there a different technique for hypertrophy and a different technique for strength? Or is there a different technique for strength in bodybuilding or strength in powerlifting?
So he has asked, do you differentiate for technique for hypertrophy? So it's hypertrophy for both, for strength and for bodybuilding. So the goal is hypertrophy.
Yes. So when you're a powerlifter or a strength athlete, you want your exertion, your what's called intent to move, which is how fast you're trying to move the bar concentrically, to never be just slow. You want it to be pretty much explosive all the time. And you want to move the bar concentrically as fast as possible. So you want to have what we call maximum intent to move. And the style of execution, if you're doing hypertrophy for strength related, even if it's hypertrophy, but it's for a strength related outcome, then, you're going to involve exercises that are using, they're nominally the same, like you're squatting for both, but your squat is going to incorporate more musculature if you're training it for strength, even if it's for hypertrophy, because you want that sort of coordinated central massive force production. So for example, if you're squatting high bar for hypertrophy, you may put more load on the bar. You may sit back further. Yes, it's still high bar, but you still want to involve the glutes a lot, still the spinal rectors. Your quads get a big hit, but you want to stay closer to that side of an integrated high force producing movement that allows you to lift the most weight. So if I'm training guys for hypertrophy and strength training, they may do 455 pounds for 4 sets of 8, and they're trying really hard, and they're sitting back and deep, and they're using as much muscle mass as possible, as long as they're still doing high bar, not leaning over super far. We're not super keen on them doing this kind of super muscle specific targeting technique, because hypertrophy just occurs with volume, and we still need it to be something that that carries over to strength really well. Because as soon as you're done high bar squatting, you go back to low bar, you want the strength to carry over. You don't want to be easy on your glutes. You don't want to be easy on your adductors or your lower back, on your bracing. So you treat the high bar squat as just a slightly different variant of the low bar squat. The positioning's different by a little bit, but the intent is really kind of the same. The concentric, as soon as you hit bottom, you come back up really fast, really drive into that bar. Whereas for hypertrophy purposes, pure bodybuilding hypertrophy, mind muscle connection is king. So instead of using 455 for sets of 8, you might use 365 for sets of 8. You might slow the eccentric more. You may take more pauses. You, instead of squatting back and down, you squat a little bit back and then down and actually forward. Steve, like when you really push your knee forward and you really feel your quads tensing, but there's not a lot of, you can't lift hardly as much weight like that. It's turning every exercise into a little bit more isolation-y than it would normally be. And, are you focused on producing a huge amount of concentric force? No, you just need to get the bar back to its upper position. You really ride and milk the eccentric and then come back up using your quads to come back up, as opposed to just muscling your way up. So it's quite different. Now, so just before anyone takes this a lot of context, if you have been lifting up to 5 years or even 7 years, you just do the good technique, do the exercises. Don't you worry about all that stupid bullshit. Mind muscle connection hardly matters at all. As you get more advanced, this kind of stuff starts to get more particular. A really good case in point is Charlie. His last video he posted as of this recording, it was today. He's doing a set of 5 in the high bar squat with 505 pounds. And the way he's doing it is he's super slow eccentric. He's sitting forward into his quads. He's taking a pause at the bottom. If Charlie switched to regular high bar, like a power lifter would do for accessories, 600 for 5 in a few weeks would be easy. He's good for, I've seen him do in, was it knee wraps? I think it was knee wraps or sleeves. I think in knee wraps, he has done, they weren't very tight. He's done I think I saw him do 725 or 735 for 6 or 7 reps. Just as deep, maybe a little bit shallower, but that kind of shit. That's like, so right, but he's so much bigger and stronger than he was when he did that. I have no doubt that if he did regular powerlifting style high bar, he'd be in the 650 plus range for sets of 5. In the high bar squat, no problem. Who the hell is he getting anything out of 505? It's that meticulous technique. The question is why? Twofold. Well, we want to make sure we're targeting the quads. You don't want to be a bodybuilder and be like, hey man, I hit a bunch of high bar PRs, and someone's like, your quads must be huge. You're like, well, I think my glutes did actually most of the work. Like, yay, slow clap. We weren't trying to do that. The other is systemic fatigue and injury. I mean, injury, like with powerlifting, you got to lift heavy. Yes, that is more injurious. There's literally just no way around that. Like, it's like saying, look, I'd really like to race cars, but those cars go fast and I could get in an accident. Like, they're not going to slow down anytime soon. Kind of the whole point. But for bodybuilding, first of all, it reduces injury. And second of all, the systemic fatigue is a world apart. Bodybuilding is about smashing as much volume as you can recover from and still grow from. And if you do all kinds of exercises that not even really training the quads very specifically anymore, but are putting a shitload of axial fatigue and systemic. Look, Steve, like 650 pounds for sets of 5, you will pay a price that's measured in weeks of fatigue, not hours or days. 505 for sets of 5 for someone that's strong, by the end of the week, you're pretty good to go. And there's your second quad workout, and you feel quite fine. So there is a big difference there for the advanced. So as you get very big and very strong, if you're really starting to go towards bodybuilding, really starting to go towards strength sport, keep those differences set in mind, and just at the margins, go a little bit more towards that. So it doesn't mean you have to renorm all your weightlifting or all your weight training. So I'm a bodybuilder now. It's all slow eccentrics and super focused. Just as you go over the months and years more into bodybuilding, just try a little bit more of eccentric control, a little bit more focus on the muscle, not worrying so much about your concentric speed, just making sure you're really good, getting really good contraction. So like on a bench press, instead of going at the top and really pushing it through, try to push with your pecs. Oh yeah, I'm getting a good contraction. And then slow eccentric deep stretching, big pause, and then push through your pecs. Don't worry about going fast. Worry about using the musculature you want. And the research on Mind Muscle Connection shows that it does make a difference at the margins. And look, if you can use 300 pounds instead of 320 pounds for the same thing, less fatigue, less chance of injury, the same or more stimulation to the target muscles, you're winning all around. Whereas that's how I lift weights. And one of my friends, Joe Sullivan, he's one of the best powerlifters of all time. Like in the hack squat, we're roughly equal as far as how much we can do sets and reps. I'm actually a little bit ahead of him. And but in the actual low bar powerlifting squat, he's probably got me by like 300 pounds, 250, but it's not even close. We're like the same size. How the hell did that happen? Well, our quads are roughly the same size, except he's really good at using his quads in an integrated manner with the rest of his body, and I'm just not. So the good news is for me, why would I try to squat? I don't have the genetics he does, or probably the work effort or willpower to get under such heavy weights. But I could, if I change my training squat, I could probably as much as 700 pounds. This question is why. It would just be extra injury risk, and what the hell for? As a matter of fact, Joe was a few months back, he was taking a heavy squat out, and he ripped part of his calf off his bone. Steve, his calf. How the fuck do you rip your calf squatting? Well, the answer is when you have 700 plus pounds in the bar, it's really just like a giant question mark gamble as to what the fuck is going to rip, because your body's like, what the fuck? So you hear reports of people who get into car accidents, smash bones you're not supposed to be able to smash. Like, oh, your pelvis broke. How the fuck do you break your pelvis? Like, well, it's 70 miles an hour. There's no rules anymore. You're just like a little puzzle piece going shaking around under 700.
Sign up. We'll get to Rob Smith's question then.